Hi, my name's Steve Dembo. I am going to be presenting today Fear the Sitting Dead, Bringing PD Back to Life, and he is going to be sharing with the attendees new models of professional development and how to make their PD sessions a little bit more exciting. How are all of you?
Good, how are you?
Did all of you just finish lunch?
Yeah.
And you carved up on like bread and pretzels, sandwiches, other sorts of things, and now you're sitting in these seats and the lights are kind of beating down on you, you're getting tired because you've already been to a few sessions and so on. We're going to try and make sure that none of you get to rest in this session. Now, I apologize for that. If you were planning on taking a nap, you're out of luck. But then again, do you really want professional development that's going to put you to sleep? Do you? You can still hear me? You good? You can still hear me. You can still hear me? All right. I'll talk louder. I am perfectly willing to. I used to teach kindergarten, so I have one of those voices where I could get a kid back from the other end of the football field if necessary. You know what I mean? So this is Fear the Sitting Dead. If you're only going to write down one URL the entire time or write down one thing, write this down. I'm using this link for the presentation I did this morning, this presentation, the one I'm doing tomorrow, and the two that I'm doing on Wednesday. As they each get finalized and uploaded, they keep getting added to this link. So this is the only link you need to get to all of my presentations. Now, I will just warn you, you can go to that link right now. Oh, I'm sorry, you're trying to film this thing too. As I kind of wander farther and farther away from the camera. If you go to this link, you will see a preview slide, like a placeholder for the actual slide. If you click on it, it's going to start loading the presentation. Guess what? I'm about to show you that presentation. You don't need to actually click through it right now, and if you do, it's about 600 or 700 megabytes, and you're just stealing all the bandwidth away from them and them and them and them, and they will hate you, okay? So write down the URL, save it, reference it later. Don't waste your time clicking through it. Unless you only wanted that and now it's time for you to go. I understand. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. It also has my contact information, how you can get a hold of me, Twitter, Facebook, email, phone number, and so on. This is what I do now. I work with teachers, I do professional development, I do conferences, I go to schools, I talk to school board members, I do stuff with administrators. So honestly, if you just want to bounce some ideas around, I got a professional development thing next week, I don't want it to be boring, what can we do? Drop me a line, I am happy to just talk through some ideas with you. Hopefully you'll get some ideas by the end of this. Everybody ready? Good. I actually created this session with my buddy Adam, the one who's doing the keynote for tomorrow, the one who we're presenting with. And we when we first kind of came up with this, we worked through a few different titles for this session. A few of the, oh wait, hold on one second. I just want to go back into presenter mode, which I had done, and then I exited so I can show you the YouTube videos, but we're not watching YouTube videos anymore. And there we go. Some of the alternate titles for this session was Putting the Sexy Back in PD, Taking Back the Faculty Room, PD that doesn't totally suck. We know it might suck a little bit, we're going to try and make sure that it doesn't totally suck. We think there's ways to do that. And I strongly encourage you, like I did this morning, go ahead and keep calm and tweet on. Conference hashtag is NHCMTC. Some people are also tweeting out with CMTC 17. Either one will work. Just if you see a good idea, please feel free to go ahead and share it. Let's face it, sometimes professional development does kind of suck. We've all been there. I've been there myself. This is literally a PD session from Chicago Public Schools. A few years ago, this is 3 years ago. This is not an exaggeration. This is a real session.
What's the strategy we're using today? And we are also going to use acquisition. What else are we going to use? So repeat after me. We will use accurately, grade appropriate, general academic, and domain-specific words.
Can you even imagine having to deal with that?
I'm assuming the person who recorded this isn't working there anymore.
I would hope the person who recorded that doesn't work there anymore, whether it's voluntary or, I mean, honestly, would you want to work in that sort of environment? Of course not. Which totally reminded us of this quote that we saw a while ago that said, if we ever die, I hope it's during a PD session, because the transition to death would just be so subtle. And yet we've all been there. Hopefully you're not in one of those over the next 3 days. I'm a firm believer that if you are in one of those kinds of sessions, you owe it to yourself to go ahead and get up and move along. Not to be rude to the presenter, but because your own time is valuable, right? And when we're doing PD, the people in the seats, their time is valuable. We don't want to waste it. Professional development shouldn't be done to you. It should treat you like a professional. It should have an actionable purpose, and there should be a point to being face-to-face with people. If you could take everything that happened during a PD session and turn it into an email or a conference call, that's what it probably should have been. Do you know what I mean? If there isn't some purpose for us to kind of talk, to ask questions, to synthesize, for you to react, for something that, you know what I mean, then what's the point? Right? Turn it into a web or something like that. Which is why we're going to look at a bunch of different things that will sort of break the traditional PD model. Okay? A lot of different ways to break it. One of them is just to put the locus of control back into the people who are in the seats. For example, some people used to talk about wikis and using a wiki to make your agenda for a faculty meeting and letting people add into it. One other way when people actually arrive there is this website called All Our Ideas. All Our Ideas was actually a way originally to get people civically oriented to find out what people's priorities were in a village or a city. But basically what you do is you have people throw out topics or ideas, and then everyone plays hot or not. It basically will take, let's say the list of 18 things that people have thrown out, and it'll show them up 2 at a time. And you basically say, this one's more important to me than this one. Okay? And then you see 2 more, and you say, this one's more important to me than this one. This one's more important to me. And if we all do that as a group, the consensus of what's important to us will bubble up to the top. Right? So that way you can kind of front load the stuff that's going to be most important to the people who are in their seats. It's an exercise that can be done fairly quickly. It's fairly seamless. You can actually use this for a lot of different purposes, but I kind of like the idea of using it for PD. I didn't load it up today and do it with you because I don't believe in practicing what I preach at all. No, I'm kidding, because I've got other sorts of activities that we're going to be doing, and I just didn't have time. I didn't think we were going to have time to do this one as well, but I have used this in a PD session where what we try and do is I basically say, these are the 10 things I'm going to try and show, but I sometimes ramble. And if I'm rambling, I want to make sure I at least get to the stuff that's most important to you, and I don't lose time at the end. So let's find out what the most important thing is. And I'll let the audience kind of choose to fast pass the thing that's most important to them. So that way we're not stressed about losing that one at the end. You know what I mean? It's a simple idea, but once again, it kind of puts the feeling, it gives people a sense of ownership. It gives them a little bit of a locus of control and so on. Another way to do this same sort of idea is something called dot storming. Dot storming allows you to, once again, throw out an idea, an image, a link, and so on, but then you have a certain number of dots, or a certain number of likes, and you can put a dot next to any of the ones that you find interesting, compelling, things that you want to talk about, things that you want, that you want to upvote, if you will, and you can see next to any one of those images how many dots an idea has. That shows you the weight from the people based on, in the room and so on and so forth. Now that's not to say if you have to do professional development and you have a list of 10 things that you have to get to, you may have to get to them all, and it doesn't matter what order you do them in, you have to get to them all. So what's the harm sometimes in letting the people in the room say, this is what's most important to me? And then it's sort of like if you were planning on giving the kids dessert anyway, making them earn it, or congratulating them, or something else along those lines. You know what I mean? You're going to get to all these topics anyway, but by letting the people in the audience say, this is what's important to me, and then front-loading it, people feel like they own it. You know what I mean? From a purely affective sort of perspective, right? Now, those are some of the ways to kind of give them a locus of control. The other one is to actually just get them involved and sort of break the traditional mold. Now, for this next one I'm going to show you, I hate doing this at a technology conference, but I actually need people with pen and paper. Do any of you actually have paper on you? You do, that you could rip a page out? And do you have a writing utensil? It's one of those like pens or pencils that works on regular paper, not a tablet or a screen or anything? You do? Go ahead and pull it out. If you have an extra, share one with a neighbor. I actually have one pen up here, but you just need one piece of paper. Anyone need a piece of paper and a pen? You do? All right. You can share the paper with somebody else. Or, oh, you just need paper. Anyone else need paper and a pen? You need paper and a pen. You need both. You need paper and a pen. Now, this is a little bit more novel when you get into like Texas and some parts of California and so on. But what we are going to do is we are going to have a snowball fight. Are you already familiar? Did you know what was coming? You called it? I'm impressed. Yes, a snowball fight. The way a snowball fight works is we are going to have, what I want you to do is on your piece of paper, I want you to write down a source of professional development that you use that was not necessarily provided by the district, that you opted into, that you self-chose, okay? It could be a conference, it could be an event, it could be something else, it could be something online, it could be a book, whatever it is. A source of professional development that you use that was not provided by your district, okay? Scribble it down. You have about 5-10 seconds to write it down. These are very complex steps here. All good? Good. All right. Everybody get a chance to write something down or close to it? Step number 2. Please follow these and make sure you do them in order. Step 2. Crumple the paper and throw it in the general direction of other human beings. Then grab somebody else's paper and unravel it and see what they had to say. If you've used the same, go ahead and make a note of it. If you've used something similar, if you have a comment, if you have a question, add it to that piece of paper, and then you can crumple it up and you can throw it again.
Where's paper? Where's paper?
Come on.
When we open it, what do we do, Steve?
Go ahead and read through what they said. If you agree with it, if you've done it, make a little note of that. If you haven't done it, if you think it's a good idea, if you have an extension activity based on it, if you have a comment, if you have a question, go ahead and add that to it, and then crumple it up and throw it on to someone else, and you might have had a little bit of conversation.
I really checked.
That was the safest snowball fight I've ever seen. Here is yours, here is mine.
The nose one.
What do I got?
All right. I think you get the idea at this point. Very nice. Now, this was actually one of these classroom strategies that was intended originally to be used for students, but here's the reality. Most teachers, when they get into a PD session, they're used to just sitting in the chairs. They're not used to standing up. They're not used to walking around. They're not used to any sort of physical activity. They're not used to having a conversation other than just literally me pausing and saying, does that make sense? Okay, moving on. You know what I mean? So this kind of gives a chance for everybody to kind of be involved. You could do it with whatever kind of question that you want. By the way, if you do this with students and you teach middle school, have them throw it in the middle of the room, not at other kids, okay? I'm just saying from experience, okay? That's it. Read it through, add a comment, question, and so on and so forth. It's a ridiculously simple idea, but if you just front load your session with something like this, it gets the creative juices flowing. It gets the blood flowing just a little bit. And people already, then they changes the expectation of the next 45 or 50 minutes. Do you see what I mean? It just shifts the expectation around just a little bit. Another one that I really love, and we're going to do this one as well, this actually came from way before Twitter, way before podcasting, when blogging was so fresh that people actually were hand coding their own RSS feeds. I went to my first unconference called Blog Walk in Chicago. It was actually a bunch of legal and business bloggers who were trying to figure out where blogging fits into the business world and the legal world and so on. And I was just kind of interested. This was back in 2005. We did some brainstorming. We put some ideas up on the window. We put on our jackets and we took a walk. And we literally walked for about an hour and a half in the Chicago snow and just talked about all the things we had just brainstormed and let it marinate and let it synthesize and joined in a little conversation here and then kind of split up and so on. And it was one of those formative moments for me at the time, but I wasn't able to really put any science or realize that there was anything significant until a buddy of mine, Lodge McCammon, started talking about the impact of movement on brain activity. Those two brains, the one on the left is after 20 minutes of sitting down. That's the EEG image of the neuroelectrical brain activity after 20 minutes. The same brain on the right, same person, after 20 minutes of walking around shows that much more activity. The longer you sit, the more sedentary you get, the more you phase out, the more you power down. So even if you do nothing else but get people to stand up and move around, you can sort of change the dynamic. You know what I mean? Should we try it?
Sure.
Let's do it. Now, it's funny because this is the most terrifying part of this presentation to me, because I give myself about maybe a 20% chance that all of you will carry your stuff with you and never come back. All right? If you don't come back, that's okay. I won't take it personally. But I hope that you do. Leave your stuff. What I want you to do is, I want everyone to just stand up. We are going to take a walk over to, let's say, the doors that are just past, like the expo area, so we're right around there. And the topic of conversation, and you can talk with the people you're with or talk with other people. Anybody who's moving in that direction, you can go and talk with. Here's your topic. You ready? Children are smarter because of the internet. And go. I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Let's be patient.
On the road.
Follow along. Yeah,
Dave, nice to meet you. Where are you from? I have to.
Look, it's kind of meandering around. There's so many different flavors of our technology. Knowledge. Anybody else want to share what they were talking about while they were walking around? Yeah.
Gosh. So, I mean, to build off of that, it's well, how do we define smarter? Because traditionally, smarter has always been, do you know that piece of information? Well, now we have these things that put us in contact with all of the information inherent in the world. Am I still smart if I can find it, or am I smart if I do something with it?
Yeah.
And what's that doing that we are asking you to do? I think that's one of the dichotomies we're in education.
Yeah, brother.
Good word too, dichotomy. Anyone else want to chime in on this one? There's gonna be other places to jump into. So, what'd you guys think though? Did you guys enjoy taking a walk?
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing. And I know we were just there and back. Did anybody move from one group to another while you were walking around, kind of wrap one conversation up in a move? You did? Yeah, especially when we have a little bit more space and we can move around, take a little bit of a longer walk. It's something that just happens naturally. Sometimes the conversation, it ends, right? Or you kind of wrap up one little bit and maybe you jump to somebody else and that's not like an insult or something like that. And it's hard to do that in the chairs. You know what I mean? If I say to a neighbor and you're done talking to that neighbor, if you actually get up and walk away, you know what I mean? It just feels a little awkward, you know? So I like that kind of stuff. And plus also I just feel like in general, it's a little more invigorating. Now, I'm not gonna say that you wanna necessarily, you could do this for an entire 1 hour PD session, but even if you were to just take the first 5 minutes and throw out a little topic of conversation and kick everybody out of the room and have a conversation and then come back in and actually do professional development related to it. And I know sometimes the topics that we need to do PD on aren't necessarily sexy, but at the same time, you're doing it for a reason. And if you can tie it into something, pedagogical or something belief-driven or something else along those lines, then they're going to be more invested. Bye, see you later. They're going to be more invested in everything else. You know what I mean? It's going to smooth everything else along the lines. That physicality of it is kind of important. There's a bunch. I'm going to kind of do a bunch of different ones, and some of them are sort of loosely tied together. I'm personally not a big fan of things like sketchnoting. Do any of you sketchnote? Are you sketchnoting now? You're not? Okay, because if you were, I would do something much more interesting. Okay. Sketchnoting is ridiculously cool. I've had a bunch of people sketchnote different sessions of mine. I absolutely love it. But honestly, I am not a visual person. I'm not a sketchnote person. But I will say this. If you've got somebody in your district, in your school, in your building that is one of those sketchnoters, I'm a big fan of kind of putting them on a pedestal for two reasons. One, maybe even give them a little side projector screen so as they're taking their notes, people can kind of see it. And because what that does is, it's sort of like a back channel. It shows what somebody else extracting meaning from it. It kind of highlights it. And two, their handouts are way more interesting than my bullet points on PowerPoint slides. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of times you can use their sketch notes as a handout, as a resource after the fact, and it's one of those things that people aren't nearly as prone to just throwing away. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, so I look at this sort of as a visual back channel and such, especially if you can kind of make it a little more visible. But I'm a big fan of back channels in general, and things like Twitter chats. Twitter chats are really, really potent and really, really powerful. And how many of you have ever been in a Twitter chat? A fair number of you. How many think Twitter's the stupidest thing you've ever heard, just out of curiosity? Oh, some of you do. Some of you do, and I understand too. You don't want to raise your hand. That's okay. If you haven't, here's the reality. We have a very skewed audience in this room. Okay? Because you guys are at a tech conference. You guys are high tech, you're nerds, you're innovators, you're on the forefront of the technology curve. I don't care if you feel that way, you are, trust me. There's a lot of people in your school or in your district that aren't and have never seen a real value to something like Twitter. And taking somebody who's relatively new to Twitter and throwing them in a Twitter chat is a very disconcerting experience. It's very confusing how to actually follow a Twitter chat, how to participate, how to be seen by other people, and so on and so forth, which is why I love this tool that was put out by participate.com. Participate Learning, they have something called they have a Twitter chat tool. Now mind you, Participate is intended to create like courses and aggregate resources and so on, but if you look in their menu, one of the menus actually says chats, and if you go to chats, you'll see a list of all these different Twitter chats that are going around the world every day, every week, and so on and so on, that are scheduled, and all these different hashtags, literally hundreds of them. If you click through on one of them, like I clicked through on Kinder Chat, you can see all the days when it's scheduled for people to get together and talk about it, and you can also see past chats. And when you click through, you will see either an archive of a past chat that you can just scroll through, or you'll see it in real time and you can join in. Now what's really cool about this is, if somebody's never used Twitter before, but they have a username and password, they can go to the Participate link, and when they're in there, they can join the Twitter chat. It will automatically filter down to just that hashtag. That's it. They won't see everything else. They can't get lost. It's like a chat room. When new tweets come up, it will show up automatically, and they will only see the ones from that. When they send out a tweet, it will automatically add the hashtag in, which is kind of nice. When a moderator asks a question, the question will automatically show at the top. And when somebody replies to that question, it will automatically add the A1, A2, A3, so that the questions can be tied in together properly in the Twitter chat so they can participate in all that. You know what I mean? It just simplifies the entire experience for them. By using something like this, you can make it a very comfortable place. Maybe they're not going to use this forever, but at least especially to start out. You know what I mean? It kind of gives them a home base. And what I also love is, in the sidebars, they can scroll back and see what all the questions were. So for example, this is one of the questions. Does the article have you rethinking your practices in terms of apologies? What would you change? And if you click on it, you can see 18 answers, 18 responses to that question, all aggregated together. They don't have to search through and try and find it. It's all brought together for them. And also, it'll bring out all the people who are participating in that Twitter chat and show them listed here, so then you can just click follow. Makes it nice and easy. Also, if people share resources, links to articles, links to PowerPoints, Google Docs, and so on, it'll gather up all of those and put them in one easy folder for people to find later, so you're not constantly scrolling back and trying to find that one tweet that had that one resources that you absolutely need right now. You know what I mean? It just makes it easier. Now, the one thing to keep in mind that they shifted recently, apparently Twitter got a little bit more aggressive about their API and how many calls you can make to it and so on. You can't, there's no button that says create new Twitter chat anymore. So if you want to create, what school are you at?
Winnisquam.
I'm sorry?
Winnisquam.
Winnisquam.
Squam.
Winnisquam. All right, so when you're at the elementary school, and you want to create one that says elementary chat, you know what I mean, for your specific school. I'm sorry, I'm just.
That's okay.
You can't just click create and say start it and it's on Tuesdays at 9:30. You actually have to message their support team. Now, their support team is actually in the lower right-hand corner. There's just a little chat bubble, and they're on all the time. So you can just say, I want to start a new Twitter chat. Here's what the hashtag is. It's Tuesdays at 9:30. And they will just create it for you. They're just stopping people like me from creating 15 at a conference that says test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. You know what I mean? So they will create it for you, and then you can create one for your school district, schedule for different times, and actually just have a conversation, whether it be during the school day and spread out, you know, asynchronously, or all at the same time. If you've ever wanted to lead people through something like Twitter chat or get people experience in something like that, it's a good way to get started. And it can be really, really good PD. You know what I mean? I know a good teacher periodically will pause and ask for questions. I was never accused of being a good teacher, okay? And I just realized I haven't paused yet. Any questions about the stuff that we've been talking about, which was snowball fights and all our ideas and dot storming and this and walk and talks and so on? Any questions so far? Not yet? All right, that's long enough. Okay. If you do, please just go right ahead and throw them out, interrupt, raise your hand, and so on and so forth. Another sort of alternate model that I'm a big fan of is the EdCamp model. The EdCamp model is actually based off of Barcamp, which is based off of open source technology. It's what's called the Unconference. How many of you have done an EdCamp? Fair number of you. The idea being, you went to this conference here, all the sessions that are going on here were submitted 3 or 4 months ago. They were reviewed 2 months ago. They were put into the program and they are set in stone, right? If you see a session like this and say, I would actually like to talk more about the impact of physical motion and exercise on the brain and what that has to do with your kids, I'd like to do a session on that. It's too late. It's too late to do that here. With EdCamp, the way it works is, there's no sessions planned out ahead of time. When you get there, you create the agenda together. You say, this is what, it's not saying I have a presentation I want to do, it's this is the conversation I want to have, or this is what I want to know more about. I don't understand what Pinterest has to do with education. Will someone please explain it to me? You know what I mean? I saw someone talking about Snapchat with students. How on earth are you getting away with that? I'd like a session related to that, or whatever else comes to mind, and then you set the agenda based on that. There have been, they created this EdCamp Foundation. There have been just a few EdCamps since they were founded in 2010. That's 2010, this is 2015, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of EdCamps. You'll probably be able to find one here, but I'm a big advocate for hosting them at schools, either with teachers and administrators and parents, or with students and so on and so forth. It's a great way to kind of democratize and flatten the playing field and so on. And the other thing I like about it is it gives people to have conversations about things that are actually meaningful to them that maybe never come out in a traditional faculty meeting. And I think there's value in it. One of my favorite EdCamp sessions is a session called Things That Suck. Or, if you want to be more polite, Things That Rock. Have any of you ever done a Things That Rock Suck or Things That Suck session? No? I mean, I've maybe been to one, but not really. Okay, we're going to do this right now, okay? Here's how it works, and yes, you will have to stand up again, but you don't need to just yet, okay? You are going to, I'm going to throw out a topic, and when I throw out that topic, you are going to choose whether you think it rocks or whether it sucks. If you think it rocks, you're going to walk towards that wall. If you think it sucks, you're going to walk towards that wall. If you're sort of ambivalent, you'll hang out somewhere around here. And you're going to vote with your body how you feel about it. So somebody that is sitting right over here thinks it sucks about 75%. You know what I mean? That's about the level of suckage, give or take, right? If you're over there, maybe it's a little bit, you feel a little bit more fondly about it. Once you get to your spot, talk to the people around you about why you think it sucks or why you think it rocks. And then I'm going to, after we have about a minute and a half or so to talk about it with each other, I'm going to bring the microphone around and we're going to hear some different perspectives on the topic. Okay? Got any questions? Suck, rock. Rocks? Middle is men.
No, go in the middle.
You want me to go in the middle?
No, see, where do I start?
You start in your chair.
And then I go.
Where you're at right now. I'm going to throw up the topic. You're going to think about the topic, and when you've decided how you feel about the topic, then you'll move to that area of the room. Does that make sense? You're going to go in the middle? Okay, so the topic is take a stand. How do you feel about that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally teasing. I said the topic is taking a stand. I'm just totally teasing. Okay, you ready? The topic is homework.
I don't, just because you're a parent of a student.
So now normally I would actually give you a full 5 minutes to discuss before I would start taking some ideas. I'm going to start off over here because, oh wait, you're all over there. Oh my gosh, so we have to talk first. Okay, you are all entirely by yourself. Why do you feel homework kind of rocks?
I think homework kind of rocks because it allows students to get into more depth with things that they're learning. There's not enough time during the day to really get into the kind of depth that you might want them to get into. So homework allows them to do that. I also think there's a skill where they're learning how to manage time and all those different things that are important skills for them to learn.
All right, that makes sense. You guys are the next most rocky folks. Like, what are your thoughts on homework, and why are you on this half of the room? Sort of.
I think we thought we were in the middle, but
Well, you're
that's
still in the
okay.
middle.
We thought that I thought that if homework's meaningful, then it can be really helpful. That it shouldn't just be drill and kill. I think also as a parent that it's nice to know what your kid's doing at school, because sometimes I have no idea unless I see it.
Absolutely. So increases some transparency, lets the kids know. I'm going to actually. Do any of you have are any of you dying to chime in? Over here? Is that going to go towards? Okay, yeah.
I think people think of homework as a kid sitting down with paper and pencil, and obviously it doesn't have to be that. It can be all sorts of different outside of school activities.
So is that why you're in the middle? Because it could rock, or it could. Okay, sorry. This could work, or it could not work. Okay, you were kind of actually similar to what she said.
Oh.
A little bit.
I just felt that I see a lot of time being wasted in the classrooms, and I think if we could use it more efficiently, at least within our school, then kids would have less work to do outside of school.
Which is ironic because it's sort of similar to what you were talking about. You were saying that the time is, they have a lot of homework. It's not an efficient use of time and so on. And she's basically saying if we were use the schoolwork more efficiently, then they wouldn't necessarily have as much busy work at home. Anybody else over on this side want to chime in? Yes.
We both talked about it more from a parent point of view, and the homework battle at home ruins relationships, and those kids need those relationships in order to be successful in school. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, it's not worth the battle. And had you asked me 10 years ago, I would have been on that side. But now that I'm on the other side as a parent, it is not worth the fight or the family time. We have kids in the same school that I also happen to teach at, and my daughter had 3 projects over Thanksgiving break. That's ridiculous. It's supposed to be like a holiday where we spend time with family, and it was not an enjoyable holiday time. And so at that point, homework sucks.
Now, I forgot to actually, we got applause. I forgot to actually mention this. If what somebody just said actually may have shifted how you believe, you could actually go ahead and move based on that. So if you think now that it's more sucky, then you could move towards this side. If you think it's more awesome-y, then you could move a little bit more towards that. Oh, we got a little bit of movement here. Oh, wow, someone's about to climb the wall now. All right. Okay, we'll do one more topic. You ready? On the count of 3, I want to know exactly how you feel, whether you think you're awesome, whether you think you're absolutely horrible. The topic is bathrobes. All right, Marks, get set, go. Awesome that way, horrible this way. Go ahead. And then talk amongst yourselves why you are in that area of the room. Serious topic, and we probably ought to use the rest of our time on this, but I'm only going to take a few responses. Anybody dying to share why you guys are
I'll share.
Okay, you're ready to go.
I'll share. It's simple. I don't own one. Done.
There you go. That makes it very simple. Anyone else dying to chime in? No? In this group, you got anyone want to? All right, in that case, I'm going to go over there. There's one person in particular that really absolutely loves bathrobes so much that you couldn't get any closer to the wall. All right, one of you want to share why you this is the subs, right? Love. Why do you love bathrobes so much?
They're essential.
What?
They're just essential for everything you have to do.
They would disagree with me. Tell me why they're essential.
They're comfortable. They cover you up. They get you from the bathroom to the bedroom.
Fair enough.
Shower. When you get out of the shower and you're freezing, you just want to throw on your robe. You get out of a nice hot tub outside, you're up skiing, you throw on a robe. I mean, what else are you looking for? A robe.
I think we know what to get him for Christmas now. All right. I don't know if we changed any. Do we change any minds about bathrobes in this? I know we probably need a much longer, in-depth discussion, but I think that's all the time we've got to devote to this one. Go ahead and return to your seats. We'll kind of sum up a little bit, reflect just a little bit on the status of bathrobes and our opinions about them. I'll be honest. I throw in something like bathrobes because I've done this before with like you just throw out all education topics. You throw out things like assessment. You throw out grading. You throw out whatever advisory period, or you throw out something academic with him. So, and I know there are times where I'm not a fan of what we're working on, but being a part of that process and giving us a chance to talk about the school day and sort of a specialized time, I actually really enjoy that. Now, I may be weird, and I get that. But at the same time, that's the way I feel. Bathrobes, I actually do own a bathrobe, and I haven't put it on in about 10 years because I just don't understand when I put it on. If I get out of the shower, I put on a towel. If I put on, when I'm done with the towel, I put on my clothes. I don't know when the bathrobe comes in. You know what I mean? I'm a simple man. That's way more time than I need to devote to this. Now, I will also say this. I had a principal come up to me after a presentation and say, we're about to go into parent-teacher conferences. That is the one time of the year when the vast majority of our parents actually come into the school. And because we do them in the gym, almost all the parents are in one room. Is there anything we could do to kind of build community or foster that sort of shared vision? I pointed them to this. And they did this with their entire parent community. They didn't take a lot of time. They took 15 minutes before parent-teacher conferences officially began, and they gave the microphone to the parents and let them talk about what they thought about homework and what they thought about testing. And they had a conversation where the teachers were all there, the administrators were all there, and it wasn't necessarily the time on the microphone that was valuable. It was those little small groups and those little discussions where everyone had a chance to kind of talk amongst themselves. See what I mean? We were pressed for time. That's why I only did 1 minute. Normally I would do 5 minutes per topic. It's a simple idea. And like I said, once again, even if you just front load your PD session with something like this, it sort of changes the dynamic. You know what I mean? It gets people talking. You know what I mean? It gets them so that they're not just sitting back and waiting quietly and so on. You know, I said that you guys were the tech leaders and so on. How many of you, just out of curiosity, especially at a session like not a session like this, a conference like this, how many of you feel like you're behind the technology curve? Raise your hand. Just hold it up if you feel like you're a little bit behind the technology curve. Here's the reality. Every single one of you is ridiculously far on the front end of that curve in comparison to the average educator. In comparison to the average educator. You may not believe it, but you are the innovators and you are the leaders. You are. You are doing more future forward thinking than anybody else, which is one of the reasons why I love this one. It's called volunteer piloting. Cult of Pedagogy posted about it. What they basically said was, people will get together and instead of doing traditional professional development, you can opt out of some traditional professional development and form like a small research team of sorts, voluntarily. You actually say, this is the topic that I want to research, and you throw it out there so that other people have the chance to kind of pile on. And the reason you want to give people that chance to pile on is, a lot of times you will think of an idea that will be sort of a stretch, sort of a challenge. If you're going to be the organizer or the person who's kind of taking the lead on it, some of those people who are on the other end of that curve will be more prone to joining. Because it's more comfortable to join than to stick your neck out and lead. Do you see what I mean? So it kind of helps move people forward a little bit on that. And the way that this model works is, you're supposed to try and tackle big issues. It has to be purely voluntary. There has to be a structure to it, a facilitator and so on, a schedule. There has to be some level of accountability, and it has to be something that's actionable. And then you have a time frame. How long are you going to do this? Where are you going to present it? What's going to come out of it? And so on. We actually did this at our school district, and we tied PD money to it. That was kind of a mistake. Because once you start tying PD money to it, then it almost lowers the quality of the level, just because everyone wants to do it just for the sake of doing it, and they want to find one that's simple and easy and so on. When we actually took the PD money away, people worked longer on it and harder on it and dug deeper and had better results. Go figure. Because it was more intrinsic. You know what I mean? Another model, we're going to fly through a whole bunch of different models. We only got about 10 minutes left. Kim Cofino talks about this one. It's called speed geeking. It's sort of like poster sessions. Just take one little thing that you find interesting or that you saw in one of these sessions, whether that be Flipgrid or Spheros or something like that, and you have a bunch of different stations, and then give the faculty members or the other teachers and so on, you get like 3 or 4 minutes. 3 or 4 minutes, that's it, and then you're going to rotate. And then, let's say you have 6 stations and everybody gets 4 minutes. 5 minutes, that's about half an hour, give or take. After everyone has gone to each of those, then let them choose which table they want to go back to for the deeper dive. So they get sort of a sampling, a little taste of each of these, but they don't have to feel like now you're on your own and you're going to go do it yourself. Then you can come back to that one person and say, all right, I like what you're doing here, but how am I going to do this for this, for this, for this, for this, for this? You know what I mean? So kind of personalize it just a little bit. Ignite sessions is another good one. Ignite sessions is just a simple construct. It's a way for someone to share in a very fixed format. Ignite is 20 slides of 20 seconds. Or is that Pechakucha? That's Pechakucha. Ignite is 5 minutes with 20 slides also. Whatever. You get a certain number of slides in a certain amount of time, and it automatically advances. You don't get a clicker. You don't get a clicker. It automatically advances. So you have to prepare the presentation in advance. It's only going to be 5 minutes, so it's a short presentation, but then you have to try and time it. And I will tell you this, if you talk fast and you get to the end of what you wanted to say on this slide, 5 seconds feels like forever to have to wait for it to turn on. And quite the opposite, if you start yammering on and on about a slide and it goes ahead, it's really hard to catch up. So there's this little element of stress, of frustration and so on that just, I hate to say it like this, it just makes it fun. It makes it fun, and because it's an artificial construct, because everybody struggles with it, it sort of lowers that expectation. You know what I mean? You know, it sort of, in some sense, lowers the stress level because everybody's going to screw it up. There's no way not to screw it up. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of the beast. But at the same time, since it's only 5 minutes, it's a great way to get somebody to share something that they're passionate about and so on. We actually do use these at a lot of our faculty meetings where we'll have somebody do it at night just to kind of kick it off. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's related to the topic of the faculty meeting, sometimes it's not. If you really want to get goofy, you can do something called Pecha Flicker. Pecha Flicker was made by Alan Levin. You type in a keyword, and it will just show you random slides from Flickr that come up from that keyword. Does that make sense? So in other words, if you type in the word testing, it will show you a random slide about the word testing for 20 seconds, and then flip to the next one, and the next one, and the next. It's sort of like an improv activity. It's just fun. There's nothing serious about that one. Don't write that one down. Okay. Coffee EDU is something that Alice Keeler promotes. This could not possibly be more simple. This is literally, I will buy you a cup of coffee if you just show up and we can talk. And that's literally it. And the idea is you get 4, 5, 6 people around at a Starbucks or in a lounge or something like that, and you just have a cup of coffee. And your conversation is going to last the length of the cup of coffee. That's it, no big whoop. You know what I mean? It's a great way to introduce some of these different sort of ideas, using social media in the classroom, the alternative models, getting rid of grades, talking about our views about homework and that. It's just a short, concrete amount of time, and it's over a cup of coffee, so it doesn't feel like, there's no sort of anxiety and so on.
Is there a cocktails EDU?
There's a cocktails EDU, yes. I don't have slides on that one, but we'll be meeting later. When the student IT station flips over to the bar, we'll be meeting for cocktails EDU then. Yes. I like this one too, Tech Mex Tuesdays. This is a school district in, I believe they're in Texas that they do this. Here's the deal. Every Tuesday, come to the computer lab. Here's my one promise for you. There will be chips and salsa. There will be chips and salsa, and I'm going to ask you to hang out in return for having chips and salsa with me. I'm going to ask you to hang out for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, if you're not buying into what I'm selling, go away. Do you know what I mean? But if you're into it, then hang out for the rest of the session. So that's one of those times you can throw out Seesaw, you can throw out Google Classroom, and so on and so forth, and then you have 15 minutes to make the case for why they should stay for the rest of the hour. And if it doesn't vibe with them, if it's not pertinent to them, then they know all they're stuck with is 15 minutes, and then they can go on home. You know what I mean? I know this model doesn't necessarily work for everything, but it'll work for a lot of things. FedEx Days, I like FedEx Days too. This is a full day professional development. This is an alternative to the traditional in-service day. Normally, most districts will bring in someone, heck, they bring in people like me, and I always feel a little bit guilty because I like to think everybody in the room really ought to be listening to me because I have a lot of good ideas. But what I also know is there are some people in the room that the stuff I'm saying has no applicability to whatsoever, and yet they are being forced to sit in that chair because that's what the rest of the district is doing, right? This is sort of an alternative to that. If somebody wants to opt out of a traditional PD day, they can form a team and choose a task. Some tasks that will benefit and impact student learning. They're going to design activities and work throughout the day on it. You can work with anybody. You can use your time as you see fit, but at the end of the day, you have to deliver. Because FedEx always delivers, get it? So they have to present it back. They actually have to have something concrete that comes out of it. You could actually stretch this out over more time if you want to, but the original idea was, let this be sort of a one-day, deeper dive, in-depth sort of thing, and then you take that and you see where it goes. Oh my goodness, we're running out of time. We talked a little bit about ed camps. You can do ed camps with students and so on. But you know what else you can do with them? TEDx's. You can actually have your students talk about, whatever, their own thoughts, their own beliefs about education and schooling and so on. And I'll be honest, when you task a student with sharing their ideas about whatever, sports, about bullying, about peer pressure, about drugs and so on, about this was a fear of failure one, or about the schedule and so on, about the school itself, not as a bitch session, not as an opportunity to just whine and complain, but to share why it worked for them or why it didn't work for them, what they think might change the model and so on and so forth. It's amazing sometimes the stuff that you get. I have a little bit of a video, but I'm almost out of time. I'll play just a tiny bit of it.
In understanding this is the precise approach I took to 20 times. I sat and watched as kids did
This is the microphone thing isn't working. That's fine. We just want to suffice to say she's really good, and if you go to the presentation via the link, you can watch that video and follow and look it up yourself. All right. The last one I wanted to mention was one that me and Adam did a workshop on yesterday. I know you're going to hear more about it tomorrow because Adam is the co-founder of this, and that's Breakout EDU. How many of you have done a breakout? All right. For those of you that aren't familiar with what it is, it's the idea of an escape room. An escape room is you go into a room, they lock the door, and you have to solve all these puzzles in order to get out. In this case, you're not actually trying to get out of the room, you're trying to break into the box. And the beautiful thing about it, this is what the old school boxes look like and so on, and at the bottom of the box is all these different locks. And the kids have to, when you're doing with students, have to do a curricular puzzle and solve all the different locks in order to get into the box. But it's also great for PD. It can be a really fun way to do PD. So you take the 5 things that you need the teachers to learn before they leave your PD session, and you make puzzles around them. And they have to actually go through the process and solve this. If you're teaching them about Google Classroom, they have to join the classroom and join you and get the private message and get into the group in order to find the 5-letter combination in order to unlock that thing and so on. And they can't actually leave the, some people actually put the last item on a faculty meeting, the adjourn line, inside the box. And the faculty meeting is not allowed to end until the group actually gets into the box. There's a ton of different games on there. This is actually what one looks like. But remember how we were talking about motion and actually getting active and so on? This is exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about. There's around like 500 or 600 games that educators have built on the platform. A huge number of those are designed for PD. They are. Teach teachers how to use spheros, or how to do coding, or how to do this, or how to do that, and so on and so forth. So you can always just go onto their site, onto their platform, and literally just download a game that somebody else has already created, and then use it to actually gamify your professional development session or your PD and so on. The way I look at it is there are so many different models that you can play. We didn't even get into surveys and poll everywhere and using laser pointers. There's all sorts of other ways to kind of break them. The way I look at it though is anytime you can just demonstrate to the people in the room that what you're about to do is not exactly the same as what they've done for the past 20 years, you're going to be ahead of the game. Do you know what I mean? If you can just get them to look up, be interested a little bit, get them to speak up a little bit, you're going to be good. I like this. PD is important every day, not just for that one annual conference at school. And if all goes well, we're going to avoid this sort of thing from happening. And isn't that what we really want, right? We do not want to emulate the Chicago Public Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, that is everything that I have for you today. Did you guys get hopefully at least a few ideas that you're going to be able to take back with you? And did you have some fun? Thank you very much. And I just want to say, thanks for playing along. You know what I mean? I appreciate you guys being willing to get up and throw a snowball around and talk with each other and play around. If you didn't catch that link at the very beginning, there's the link right there. And if you ever, like I said, if you ever want to banter around about this or brainstorm some ideas, don't be shy. Let me know. I love talking about this and coming up with stuff together. Or if you want me to come out to your school district and to explain why homework sucks or bathrooms rock, I'll be happy to do that as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the conference.